Hello and welcome to this edition of The Author's Eye with me, your host, Mark Cartwright. And today I've got joining us shall we say, talented science fiction author of the dodecahedral series of books. Hopefully I've got that right. Yeah, it's
Yes.
Sally Ann Melia. So say hello, Sally.
Hello, Mark. Nice to be here.
Long time no see and all that sort of stuff. Right. So this week we're going to concentrate on book marketing, which is a real, I think we're going to concentrate primarily around for indie authors. I think it's fair to say that if you are a traditionally published author, then you can expect your publisher to take on an awful lot more of the marketing.
Yeah.
Um, to the bookstores and everything else. So this is primarily going to be aimed at independent authors, whether that's self-published authors or hybrid authors, um, or small press authors.
Can, can,
So
can I just jump in and disagree? Because we're talking about possibly a website and a newsletter. And I think that even traditionally published and hybrid authors would want to have those two sort of basic digital assets to sort of interact with their followers online.
oh,
And I'm
absolutely,
not
yeah.
sure even the traditional publishers do have their own websites. But if you want to interact with your own fans, you're not going to be able to do that, say, through the HarperCollins website, where you may have a profile.
Yeah.
You will then need your own website. Now, I don't think publishers provide that anymore, really.
No, I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, even the greats like Stephen King and what have their own website. I doubt that they're the people doing all of the individual postings on there, but they may well be. But you're
And
absolutely right.
that's an interesting question, actually, because if you're Stephen, well, maybe not if you're Stephen King, but if you are, say, John King and you're published by HarperCollins, do you actually have to sign away the rights to your web domain? Can you actually go and buy yourself a website called John King, or is your publisher going to hang on to that option just in case they want to set you up a dedicated website where they can monetize you as an author further than just through a standalone bookshop? I wonder.
I wonder, but
Or,
there's probably
interesting.
a contract in place,
Mm,
and that will be one of the um, maybe finer details. I think it's fair to say that if you're going to write a book at all, with an intent to at least get it out there, however you publish it, traditional or otherwise, you will have acquired, I would have thought and hoped that you would have acquired at least your own website.
yes, I think I would say that if you are going for a trad deal and they start talking about websites or domains, understand exactly what they're saying. And even if they say, I want this domain, to cover your books, you can still go and buy another domain. Say, for instance, you could have Sally Ann Melia Books
Yeah,
and use
absolutely.
that as your own website. So you're not limited by any contractual things that might be in place. But
No.
it's an interesting one that because they would want to perhaps because there is an option of monetizing when you have a standalone website. Yeah.
Plus the fact if you acquire all of the various forms of your own website, it would stop someone. So if I have derekmcartwright.co.uk, which I do,
Yes.
and I become this massively successful author of weird and wonderful books, and then someone says, "Oh, hang on a minute, there is no, he hasn't got the derekmcartwright.net, for example, or .shop or
Yeah.
whatever." There's nothing to stop them from acquiring those. So again, to me that adds further weight that when you do buy your domain, that you look to buy as many of the, as it were, extensions that are out there. So,
Yeah. And
see,
actually, I was recommended to buy domains for my main characters. Like my main character is Guyama, so I've actually got the domain guyama.com as
uh,
well. But I haven't got multiple domains over multiple extensions. I think that fell. It used to be a thing when it used to be mostly just .com and say .co.uk, but it sort of fell out of favor when there started to be hundreds of different extensions
yeah,
like business and dot this and dot that and dot the other.
yeah. I mean,
Mm.
I've stuck with .co.uk and .com.
Mhm.
I haven't bothered. So if anyone's out there and they want to go and buy it, good luck to you, because I don't sell any books, so you're never going to make any money. Well, there you go. That appears that we're talking straight away about the first of the top tips when it comes to book marketing. And people, if you want to write, get yourself your website. Simple as that. That's top priority. First thing that you need to do. Okay, let's move on then. So we've now established our website. We've even done, something that is not that common. We've actually written a book and we want to get it out there. We want to sell it, and let's just play out the scenario that um, we've published it on Amazon. Um, and it's like, now, what do I do? How do I get my book out there? What's the best way? And I think, would you make a distinction between book marketing for newbie authors as opposed to, say, someone like yourself who's got, more than half a dozen books out there? Do you think there's a difference in the marketing approach from a,
I I think so. I think so. If you've just got the one book, um, yes, I would say there's limited scope possibly for you to do sales of your book directly from your website.
yeah? And
Um,
that would be my experience, which is why I've asked the question. So I think as a newbie author myself, I think book marketing is quite difficult because you've only got the one. You've only got
yes,
one opportunity, as it were. And I
and
think,
actually,
yeah,
you
and
could very well, I think, if you just had the one book, you could very well survive for quite a long time with just either a Facebook page or with, the new and upcoming platform is a Substack page.
yeah,
You could have that as your main. Um, Although I was reading today that you can have a custom domain on Substack, so you can actually. I've got Sally Amelia as my domain. I could have a substack.sallyamelia.com domain for my Substack, which would be quite interesting, I think.
yeah. I mean,
But
it sounds whether is that more of the social media presence as a way of helping you market your books, isn't it? To use
I
those
think
platforms,
websites
yeah.
can be quite expensive because you have to pay for the domain name, and you often get caught out by that because very often domain name will be free when you first set up a website. And also the platforms, which are the three of them, which you mostly look at is GoDaddy or Wix or Squarespace. They offer very enticing deals when you start out on them. So you can be lured into thinking, it's going to cost me £5 a year to have a website. Um, and then those charges go up quite quickly when you're at the end of
Yeah, I mean,
your first year.
there
Hmm.
are ways to do it a lot cheaper than those. So I just my experience. I mean, I just simply bought my domain from Namecheap, and then within Namecheap there is a thing that's called cPanel, which basically is a free way of you building a little website with an email account. So, and that side of it is free, but you have to do the work. You've got to be able to do a little bit of, you don't have to program anything, but you've got to have a way, you have to understand how to build a website in a fairly simple way. Now, I simply went on to various YouTube's tutorials and just followed step by step. And so that is distinctly possible, and it's a lot cheaper that way. But you're absolutely right. I think if you go down that paid route, it seems really affordable to begin with, but you need to factor in that it can end up being, particularly if you start selling from your website. So when you've got a website that's purely information, yeah, it's just a simple repository about, oh, hello, this is me, this is my book, this is my other book, or whatever, then that is a fairly straightforward website.
Mm.
Once you start adding sales to your website, then there are all kinds of little intermediary things like how are you going to process payments? What about deliveries? What about all those kind of fulfillment things that need to happen? And that's where things like GoDaddy, Shopify, or whatever it is, start adding cost to those
Yes.
things. And that's just, so yes, you need a website, absolutely, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the 30, 45 pound a month or whatever options. There are cheaper options. Best do your research, or I mean, I'm quite happy to help, and people can contact me via the comments boxes, but there are other options that are much more affordable, shall we say. But however you do it, nothing is free. So,
Yes.
you need a website because you need to be able to get out there and say, I exist, I am an author and I exist. So the website is your way of doing that. It's also a way to protect yourself and your image, your rights, if you were. Um, so, but it will cost some money or some time, whichever you're more comfortable with. Okay, I think that's probably done the website to death, as it were.
We're not going to talk about what should be on your website.
Oh no, no, that's where I'm going next, you see.
Okay.
All
Okay.
we've
Right.
done, all we've done is have a domain name and exist. So the which leads on nicely to the next point, really, which is the website is also crucially important in relation to book marketing. Um, through things like author newsletters. Now, rather than me try and explain it from a newbie author point of view, obviously this is something that's much more within your wheelhouse. So,
Yes.
over to you when it comes to discussing the the pros and cons, as it were, of having a author's newsletter that you would, as it were, publish from your own website.
Yes. So the basic premise is that, okay, your book is out there, you've found some readers, they've really enjoyed your book, and they've gone onto the internet to find out more about you. I think the first thing they're going to want the question to answer is, have you got any more books? So hopefully on your website, they'll be able to find your website and they'll be able to find all your books. And then once they've read your books, they might say, okay, I want to find out more about you. I mean, you as the author actually come quite a long way behind the other books. But if they've run out of books, they will then, and what they'll be looking for is, okay, so they see you've got a newsletter, and it'll be interesting to your reader if you put in that newsletter snippets from your upcoming book, extra pieces of stories from the previous book, maybe some scenes that were cut, some customer profiles, maybe some sketches or photography or artwork that you might have done. You might have had some artwork developed for your characters. You may have had a friend or family. You may have some locations which exist in the real world. So you might take, if you've written a novel on the beach and you know this particular corner of the beach well, you may have the photographs of where you think certain scenes have taken place. And so you can create a lot of content which will enhance the experience of the reader reading your novel. So
Is it worth at this stage talking about how you identify and get that list of people to send your newsletter to?
Yes. Now there are essentially two approaches. The first approach seems to be that everyone agrees that you should put a sign up sheet. So you should say somewhere in your novel, you should put a page that says sign up for my newsletter. And there's one school of thought that says you should put sign up for my newsletter on the very first page, even before they've read Once Upon a Time. Now, there are several problems with that. The first problem can be that unless you format your book correctly, then when you have your preview page on Amazon or whichever, where you can preview the book, if you've only allowed to see the first 3 or 4 pages of your book, then you're wasting one page with your sign up page.
Yeah.
So instead of showing people the beginning of your story, you're showing them the sign up page. The other thing is, I'm not sure anyone really wants to sign up for a newsletter before they've read the beginning. So the other thought is that it's actually better to say, you know what, I only want people to sign up for my newsletter if they've read to the end of the book and then they've found the sign up page and then they've signed up for it, because they think, okay, then I know that anybody who comes onto my list, and then you'll have to have a piece of software to capture the email and keep it securely all within lines of whatever data protection laws you're accustomed to. So you will be using at that point some sort of mail email software. Then you know they have at least read the book. And
Yeah,
I actually think that's probably the best way to go. There are other ways whereby you can give away free copies of short stories on other websites, but you've always got the problem there that when you're giving away free stuff, people aren't actually invested in it. They've just grabbed it because it's free. Whereas
yeah.
if you put
I was going to say, I mean, I think it's quite interesting. When we talk about maybe free books and stuff like that as a promotional thing later on, but from my point of view, so I agree in the sense that I have a page at the end of the book where I talk about who I am. There is a photo for anyone who is mad enough to be that interested. But there's also a link there for the web address. And they can go to that website. So anyone can go to my website. And then there is a contact me page and they sign up in there. And it says, and I, at the moment, do a quarterly newsletter. The aim is to make that a monthly newsletter. Now, what I do is like as a bit of a welcome, I give people a free short story in PDF format. It's not a story that I am commercially inclined to publish, but I still think it's quite a funny story and it suits my thing. And it's got a character called No Shit Sherlock in it. And I think it's quite entertaining. And I use that as my, I'm going to use the term reader magnet, and which might be something else that we can talk about. That's hopefully the hook that entices somebody to come in to the
yes,
website. And then I do that. And then I get the email addresses. And as you say, it needs to all be done under data protection legislation. It's worth saying on your website, just for the sake of it, that you should also reference that on your website to make sure that you are complying with data protection and that people are safe place for them to come to. So yeah, so I'm very much on board with all of that sort of stuff. What about the idea? I mean, do you worry about the frequency? I mean, I think I've seen authors say that they will do a weekly newsletter. And certainly I've signed up and I've got authors that send me their newsletters every week. And I can't say that I read every one that comes through on a weekly basis, but do you have an ideal frequency?
I think, well, Bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, or monthly is probably something to aim for.
Yeah, because I'm concerned that my approach of doing a course, because I think, well, of course, we're writers. It takes a while to write a book and everything else, but actually, this isn't what it's all about, is it? This is just about maintaining contact and communication with the people that hopefully are more inclined to buy your books. But yeah, so okay, so let's we're two bi-weekly and monthly is the approach. What about the idea of, do you use things like pop-up screens so that when someone comes onto the website, so how do you actually notify the person that, or invite them to sign up to your newsletter?
Yes, I do have pop-ups. Um, I think again, it's one of those things whether or not it's annoying to your readers. I think I've come to the conclusion because at one point the pop-ups on my website were working correctly, because the pop-up is only supposed to show when the website doesn't recognize you. It's
Yeah,
meant to, if you've already signed up for the newsletter, it shouldn't pop up. But mine stopped working. And as a result, every time I went onto the website myself, it kept asking me to sign up for my newsletter. And I found that so irritating and so um, annoying that I actually thought, no, this is, it pops up. It's quite a big box. It takes up the entire screen. By the time you've found the cross to click away from it, you just probably just want to, you've lost that, magic of finding something new, I think. So
yeah,
I think I got rid of that. But what I did do instead was I put a newsletter page, and then I put links so that people could see the previous newsletters, and then just put the sign up box there so
yeah,
people knew exactly what they were getting.
yeah.
And again, you've got that commitment that they know what they're signing up for. And so hopefully they're going to, want to be engaging with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, for me, that's definitely my approach. They have to go click on a page in order to sign up. So there's a
Yes.
level of commitment, there's an effort that to do it. I'm not a fan of every time going somewhere that someone fires up this pop-up, or
Mm, mm.
I find that quite annoying. So I think that's the least or the last thing that I think people want to see. Do you, what about newsletter swaps? Do you engage in sort of linking up with other authors and just being circulating newsletters and trying to share groups? Is that something you've considered?
Well, I've always thought, because we were members of the Hogsback Writers, that this would have been something that would have evolved naturally out of our writing group. But actually, it never really has, because everyone everyone's at different journeys in their writing journey. And I think this quid pro quo does require you to have several people who are, one, writing in the same genre as you, and two, are vaguely at the same level in their writing careers.
Yeah,
Because if somebody's vastly famous and has got 50,000 followers, if they're going to recommend you, they've got to really believe in you and believe that your writing is right for that.
yeah,
Otherwise, they could lose some of their followers over that. And if somebody hasn't got any following, or is possibly just trying a newsletter for a couple of months and is not committed, then there may not be very much value in you being featured in a newsletter anyway.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's interesting. I think I would always say to any other authors is to try and find your community, not just of readers, but also authors who write in the same or similar sort of vein. I do think there's an opportunity, as you say, within being able to share across other authors and get support. We are all readers as well as writers. So I do think another option for people. So okay, so we've sort of covered, I think, the website approach, making sure you've got a website, making sure that you utilize that website as a vehicle to contact the people that are interested in following your work through your newsletters. What about an approach then to actually get out there to a wider population? So let's talk about. I think it's under the heading of content marketing, but I think primarily in today's world, this would probably be social media as a way. So how do you find social media in relation? Do you find it helpful in obtaining sales of books? Is it something you work heavily with?
Uh, I think I think because I still work full time, I find social media quite difficult because social media to be done well requires quite an investment in time and effort. So I've been on many a course where they've said to me, "Oh, you could do TikTok or BookTok, as it's often called.
Yeah.
You only have to make 3 videos a week, and you only have to interact with other people twice a week." But that is quite a large investment of my time. I wouldn't find it easy to make 3 videos a week just off the bat like that.
Yeah, I think I mean, having done a little bit of research, it would appear that generally speaking, and there's always exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, uh, BookTok, which is it's TikTok, but it's just a section of TikTok.
There's a hashtag on TikTok, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, and there's and also BookTube, which is a section of the YouTube, which is the
Yes.
readers and author community on YouTube. They seem to be the two main areas, particularly for relatively new authors trying to get out there as ways of being able to sell or at least market your book. The traditional, I say, social media, it's the traditional social media approach
I mean,
of
I did
Facebook and
Twitter at
Instagram
the
Reels.
beginning.
Yeah,
Twitter used to be quite interesting about
yeah,
10 years ago.
yeah,
It's obviously now changed a lot more and it's evidently become a lot more of a political shouting ground.
yeah.
Facebook, the way they've throttled your access to even to your organic followers
Yeah.
and made it very expensive, uh, doesn't really work. Pinterest, well, I think that sort of faded out a little bit. Um,
It's still
Instagram,
heavily American. The Pinterest is still, for the American market, but it
I
is, you're
quite
right, it's not
I
as,
quite like Instagram. You can put up little photos, and I quite like Instagram. It's every single. I mean, I heard a good piece of advice this week: is choose one platform and do it well.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm just again as a newbie author, I had all of the Facebook and all the Meta stuff, and then unfortunately, Meta, uh, my book got pirated, and then Meta took all of the pirated material to teach its AI uh, model from those books, and so as a matter of principle, said, that's it, I'm done with Meta, and I left the platform. Not that you ever really leave any of these things, your data's out there somewhere still, but I haven't missed it because I just found it way too time consuming for very little reward.
yes, yes.
So I moved across in terms of social posting, I moved across to Blue Sky, which is was developed by the people that set up Twitter before
Mm.
they sold, sorry, X before they sold that. So I tend to, I exist on Blue Sky, but it's, a few hundred followers on there. And then I plan to go down to YouTube. I have looked at TikTok and I thought, I'm 61 years of age. I just don't get this. I don't get it. Now,
Mhm.
people will out there will laugh at me and say,
Yeah, yeah,
"Oh,
yes.
come
Again,
on.
anyone can do
All you've
TikTok.
got to do, it's easy peasy." Anyway, so I mean, to be fair to myself, my focus is to try and get as many books out there first, rather than saying, "Oh, hey, I've got my one book. Come and buy my one book." I need to write. I need to get better as a writer. I need to get more stories out there. But
Yes.
yeah, and then I think the other thing that I thought was quite interesting is the role that reviews plays. So I think you've got obviously on if your book is available on Amazon, Amazon will invite purchasers of your book to review it, um, and that is a good thing. And then you've got one of the other major platforms, I think, is Goodreads. Although it's owned by Amazon, it's supposedly a separate entity. But that's where readers go for their recommendations and also reviews. And then there's another slightly smaller, well, a much smaller one called Fable, which is really around sort of like almost like book clubs. So within the Fable setup, you can do that. And I think that is something that I need to, I think. So when you're promoting your book, not only do you want to promote, oh, hi, buy my book, but once they've bought your book, they've read your book, getting your users to do reviews. Reviews for authors are like gold dust because that's hopefully, if you get good reviews, that's your way to get your next sale.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, so I think the whole concept of um, that side of it, the social media and all the rest. And let's not forget, you've also got things like the growth of podcasts. Get yourself on a podcast if you can. Oh, hang on a minute. What do you mean, Mark? You mean like this podcast? Um, but you're right. I mean, you mentioned before about sharing quotes and things like that. These are all ways that you can try and generate, not just generate interest, but keep interest with your readers. And so there's lots of things that you can do within social media. But as you say, I think it's absolutely critical that just pick one and just do it well. If you try and do, and that would be the top social media tip, as it were,
Yes.
for anyone trying to market their book, just pick one. If you try and do multiple or try and go across the whole lot, you'll be there forever, and all you do is dilute your message.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would be that thing. Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time. So
Fine. Well,
we
that was very
barely
quick.
scratched the surface of
I
book
know.
marketing.
I said we wouldn't get on much further than what we have.
I know that's terrible, isn't it? But there you go. Yeah. So I'd just like to say thanks to Sally for um, all those helpful hints and tips.
Yep.
And look forward to catching up with Sally again next time when we can expand on this. I think there's a lot
And
more information to do.
there's a lot more we
So
can go on about.
it's with that, it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you all very much.